Great. So welcome everyone to another one of our amazing, fabulous, sparkling, inspiring My Speaker Business community calls. It's great to have you on board, and everyone that is here with us on a regular basis knows that these are your calls where you get practical hints and tips from our guest experts that you can apply in your speaking business right away, where you can ask your personal questions on how to make your speaker business flourish further, also where you can exchange with other professional speakers. And also, if you have a project running right now that's close to your heart, you can tell us, and share with us your priority project and, ask us for help. And also, I know that Sangbreeta and a lot of you are, from all over the world, really. For some it's morning, some it's the afternoon. For us here in Central Europe, it's the middle of the day. So if you're here to just simply take a break and have fun with us, you're equally welcome. So everyone in the call that's here for the first time, just really know that these calls are created for you. So they're very interactive. We invite you to ask your questions anytime, connect with our expert on a deeper level. And also when you're not speaking, please mute yourself so we have a sparkling recording, okay? Well, what is our topic today? It's all about how do you really step up? How do you transform your presence as a professional speaker? And our guest today, she really is an amazing lady. About 2014, she started out being in a corporate career and doing, speaking as a side career. And, she really went from there to being a full-time international speaker, headlining conferences alongside even Prime Minister. And as she's saying about herself, she made a swift but well-planned transition to a successful speaking career. Now I ask you, everyone in this call and everyone watching this afterwards as well, are you ready to step up with your speaking career? Is it time for you to really turn your part-time speaking into a full-time professional speaking career? Or if you are already speaking, do you want to get paid more for your speaking and speak internationally and stand out as a speaker? Well, if you're looking for that initial, or additional spark that gets you there, you're in the perfect call. Well, today, who is our precious guest? Well, first of all, she's been chosen by Viva magazine as one of the top women influencers in the Netherlands. She's a rewarded international TEDx award-winning speaker on how leaders and visionaries can transform their presence, purpose, and legacy, which is something I think we all want to hear more about. She went from an international master's degree in the Netherlands to a corporate global management career, was very successful there, and now is an international thought leader on transformation. Well, I'd say her journey is really unique and special, and she's been, awarded by the TEDx jury the award for her speech, Transform Your Presence. Well, there's so much more to say about you. Let me just introduce her right away now, Sangbreeta Moitra. Sangbreeta, it's really an honor and pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome.
Thank you, Monique. It's an honor to be on your call. You've had some of the most incredible speakers and thought leaders on your calls, people who I've been looking up to for years. So you can't believe how excited I am to finally be on this very prestigious platform with you.
Yes.
And especially with you, because I love you so much. Yeah.
Right. It's so great to have you. And from day one, I knew you would be here one day, and we've been planning this for a long, long time, and you are a really special treat. And thank you for taking even some time out on your holidays, right? I mean, tell us, where are you right now?
I'm going to show you really quick, because this is a location that any one of you out there in any part of the world, you must be here. So I'm in the state of Kerala right now in India. It's on the west coast of India. And it's right at the south. It's on the Arabian Sea, and it's called God's own country. And in a second, you'll see why. This is the Arabian coast, coconut palm trees, terracotta thatched roofs, and the beautiful blue Arabian Sea. Smattered with rocks, these beautiful rocky formations and sand beaches. And I see Mithun right there smiling nostalgically. So I think I have a few Indians in the house as well. It's a very, very organized state, and it's the home of, it's the birthplace of Ayurveda. So everywhere you have these wonderful yoga classes, meditation retreats, Ayurvedic massages going on. So I'm usually, a bit on edge before I go into a call or if I have a speech coming up. But after we're done here, I'm going to go and relax. Lots of yoga and Ayurvedic massages lined up. So it's all good.
Okay, great. You all make us jealous now. So Sangbreeta, next time we're going to meet, we will be on stage in Kerala, right?
Yeah.
Together as speakers. Okay, why don't you get just started and tell us about your journey and, how did you go about to not just start into a professional speaking career, but you did it in a way that you stood out. You stand out big time now with your topic, with you, who you are, with your brand. Why don't you just take us along your journey on where you started? What made you actually start in the first place? And, how did you get to where you are today?
Sure. And I'll try to keep it succinct because I can go on forever with this topic. This story is not one of tremendous successes one after the other, but I think the biggest milestones and the biggest milestones in my life have been through moments of hardship and failure. And I think if I have to give you one takeaway message from everything I say today, it's that failure is your best friend, or challenges and the roller coaster going downwards is going to be your best friend, because they will teach you the most about where you need to change most and where you're going to grow most. So ever since I was young, and I think if you've watched my TEDx talk, you'll know a little bit about me. I've been passionate about storytelling and speaking, and mostly beyond all of this, it's about the way we can connect with people through different ideas. So I've been doing this since I was 5. I've been actively training in oration and public speaking, debating, storytelling. It's just something that I think came from within me. But at the time, academics was seen as the most important thing in your life, and all other creative callings were not given as much importance. It's just the time I grew up in. So I continued with my academics, and that brought me to Netherlands. I came here as a student of molecular biology, but alongside I was always pursuing and growing my desire for finding new ways to connect with people, and how can you transform your identity or the way you're connecting or impacting people. This was a very vague and very, so to say, side hobby-esque thing in my life. Then when I started working in the Netherlands, I was a global manager at that point. Everything was fine in my life, but I still felt very incomplete. And I decided to jump more into my creative calling. So, there were lots of boxes that I tried to check off. I was like, is this because of energy? Okay, I'll join a dance class. I did salsa. That wasn't the answer. I went into running. I thought, okay, maybe I just need to spend my energy by running. I joined a marathon group. Wasn't the answer. And it was through a lot of checking out, crossing out things that I eventually landed with, okay, there's things that I want to talk about, and creative callings and ideas that I want to discuss that I am not being able to discuss in the work that I'm doing in my career as a manager. The things that I want to talk about and start and spark discussions on, this is not exactly the place. So I started my professional speaking alongside as a side career, where I would do it a couple of times a week. And then, in a short span of time, when I started with that, and Monique, that's how we met. I won quite a few Toastmasters awards in Netherlands and Europe. And I think because my trajectory was so sudden, so I joined, and within 4 months, I won in the Europe top 3. I think that's the reason why I got this sudden popularity amongst a lot of people in Europe, at least in the speaking community. And then that happened again 6 months later in Krakow. So the first one was Budapest, the next one was Krakow. And then I noticed that people started coming up to me and saying, oh, I love the way you were sharing your ideas. Could you tell us more about it? And that's when I realized that this is more than just me pursuing my creative calling. Apparently, whatever I'm doing, something is resonating with people. But I didn't know what it was. And I don't want to be someone who's just a jack of all trades. It's important for me to find out what is truly my voice and what is truly the cause that I want to talk about. What is going to be my expertise? So I spent the next 2 years creating content and basically becoming an expert on my subject. So I was attending different courses, reading up a lot, creating content, testing it. I did over 150 workshops and talks, free pro bono, and I was constantly gathering feedback. And then every time I would get the feedback, I would work on it, throw it out in a new audience, get the feedback again. So I literally fine-tuned my workshops and speeches as they are today. So when you hire me today, or when someone hires me today, they know that it comes with 150 trials of the past 2 years. So I started creating my content. And the mistake I made when I went professional was I was surrounded by a lot of people who were successful public speakers or trainers or keynote speakers. And I was trying to emulate them to be another success story. And that's where I think I had my biggest falls and fails, because it's good, you know, you get an initial traction because people know you and then people start approaching you, but then you are being a second-rate version of someone else. You're saying something that's already out there in the world. And to be honest, I wasn't really talking about things that were true to me, because even though I got a lot of popularity through leadership communication, public speaking, I did realize with time that that is not all that I want to talk about. There are more things that fascinate me, that truly make me curious, that I would walk up to a stranger and say, hey, tell me, what do you think of this? So I need to initiate and engage those discussions. And there was a moment in January 2017, and I've mentioned this in another interview that's being released very shortly. And what happened in January 2017 was I had barely anything going on. You know, all the discussions that I had with the various platforms had kind of died somewhere. They just disappeared. And the kind of platforms that I wanted to speak at weren't working out. And I felt the worst pain I've ever felt in my life, because I thought, oh my God, is this it? Is this where this ends? Is this all there is? Like this dream I had of speaking, is this going to remain a occasional side hobby? And I remember my husband saying, Sangbreeta, why are you so upset? You have a full-time global management career. You should be happy. I was very sad that day. And the next day I had to go and give a speech at an event. And as I was on the train going to that event, I said to myself, if there's something that can affect me so deeply, no way in hell am I going to let it go. If it makes such an impact on me, if I can cry because of something I haven't even started fully yet, it means a lot more to me. I must pursue it. And that's when I decided that I'm going to sit down and change everything. I'm going to reshape and restructure all my content. And I'm going to take time, even if it means quitting my career my speaking career for some time. I'm going to sit down and confront myself to find out what is it that I really want to talk about. And that's how I shifted from being a communications trainer and someone who talks about public speaking to talking about the topic of transformation, because I realized that what truly drives me is how do people transform their presence? How do companies transform their presence? Is there, what is the catalyst? Is that a person? Is that a situation, a negative or positive situation? What impacts you? What influences you? What if you take that experience away from your life or from that organization? Will this transformation still happen? And it's thoughts like these that honestly fascinate me. And that's when I decided, okay, this was last year, January, that I decided, okay, I'm going to stop everything I'm doing and I'm going to realign myself. And that's how the topic of transformation came to me. And I realized all along, what has fascinated me more than anything else I do, the foundation has always been transformation. And that's how I got to creating my TEDx speech, Transform Your Presence. And I think it was just this click that people had from across the world. I also realized I've been talking for a long time. I'll stop this soon. So I won the TEDx award, that jury award for my speech, Transform Your Presence. That was a 5-minute speech. That was a pitch. And I won it amongst many amazing entrepreneurs and thought leaders. So that was huge. And when my TEDx talk was released in November, and even before that, the moment I started talking about transformation and talking about the subjects that fascinate me, I started getting a lot of attention from people across the Netherlands. So there were really C-suite executives who were approaching me and saying, I saw you speak there, you were amazing, I want to know more for people in my company. Or people from companies approaching me saying, my very good friend, who's a top executive in this company, saw you speak there and she said you're amazing, so tell me more. So something was clicking with these people who I didn't know. And then, of course, the TEDx speech happened in November, and then that went huge. And within a month of that speech releasing, I was approached by over 5 companies. I was approached by for over 5 interviews from across the world. The first time for um, Australia, Netherlands. So it was crazy the way it snowballed. And what I picked up from all of this are 4 tips. But I will get to those 4 tips later. This is my story. And this is how I got to where I am. And it got so crazy from the point of January where I didn't know where I was going to finding my calling and my true vision, that by October, I quit my job. I quit my full-time job, and I could very easily transition into my full-time speaking career. I already saw that 6 months, up until 6 to 8 months ahead, I had regular, very, very, very flattering paycheck, and I was going to be fine. And I knew I was going to be fine. So the day I decided to hand in my resignation, I think everyone in my family freaked out except for me. But I was just sure because I could see the storm of work coming. That was a little gist that went a bit over time.
Oh my God, no, you're not over time, Sangbreeta. Oh my God, I could listen to you forever, to be honest. I mean, you said so many things that so many questions came up on my side. I could ask you again and again. Okay, so many questions. But before we go into this, the questions that came up for me already, and I want to open the space as well for everyone else, because I could ask you questions all the time because we are pretty well connected and good friends. So, I also want to open the space for everyone else to ask you questions. But why don't you tell us? So again, there's so many, you gave me so many clues, but for example, the one where you said, and this was the moment when I decided to quit my job. This was the moment when I knew that I would be safe and I would have paychecks coming. And you said everyone around you freaked out, but you knew that it was right. It was the same when I quit my job. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But can you tell us a little more about, how did you know? When was the point when you really had that trust to leave your very successful, and you were very successful in your corporate career? I remember that. When was that point, the turning point for you to say, now is the moment, now I'm ready to go? How did you know you were ready?
I just knew. But I'll give you a bit, that's the most frustrating answer in the world. Oh, I just knew. It's also a very boring answer. But I think you reach a place of complete belief in yourself, and it's a very powerful feeling, knowing that you're willing to face failure head on. Make no bones about it, I am not at all in this headspace that, oh, I will never fail. I am very aware that this might not work out. I am extremely aware that there are tons of people who will say no to me, and even after all the wonderful things that have happened, I still get people who say no to me. But I was willing to take the risk of pursuing what I truly believe in, and that belief was greater than the fear of any failure. And I think that happened only because I aligned to my true strength, my true calling, and what happened is I'm talking unadulterated about what truly fascinates me. The things that I talk about in my keynotes, in my workshops, even in my articles, are truly things that fascinate me. And what I realized is these are things that people across the world are resonating with. But even if I didn't have their very vocal opinion, I can see that people are hiring me because there's something that's clicking. And I know that this click is strong because I know that it's not just about, oh, we need to organize a workshop because we have a budget, so we'll call her. It's not that. These are things that people are worried about or are thinking about themselves, or they're thinking about their teams or the organizations that they leave behind. Everyone today is trying to discover their identity. The map of a career path is very different from what it was in our parents' time. In our parents' time, a career was about earning money and putting bread and butter on the table. It was about It was very functional. But in our time, you will see pretty much everyone. I'm pretty sure everyone on this long list of people who are attending the call, thank you so much for joining in. Everyone is kind of pursuing a side career. They're doing a side hustle because they have these creative thoughts and outputs that can't be contained within a 9-to-5 job, or maybe their 9-to-5 job is not allowing them to express their calling or their talent to the fullest. So they're trying to find something along the side. And what I basically did was that side hustle or that side career became so strong and successful enough that I could take off. But I must tell you, there are times in my life where I have such a strong sense of belief that I've said no without knowing that there will be a yes. But I've known so deeply that there will be a yes that I took the leap anyway. I'll give you an example. I won't give you the scary example. I'll give you the less scary example. In 2017, last year, I was approached by a TEDx platform to give a TEDx speech. They had heard very good recommendations about me, the organizing team, and they approached me and they said, could you send us some of your work? I sent them some of my work and they really loved it. So they said, okay, we'd love to have you here. That was a smaller TEDx platform, but a good one nevertheless. The second TEDx platform that I was in talks with was this massive TEDx platform in Netherlands, which was having a pitch contest. And I wanted to pitch for something. I wanted to just, I don't know, maybe something in me wanted to prove something to myself. And it was a really amazing platform, and I really looked up to the organizers. So there were people I knew of and I highly respected, and I wanted to be a part of their event. So what was happening is these two TEDx events were going to be side by side. So they were 3 days apart. So back when the planning was going on, I realized I was accepted for the pitch, but that doesn't say anything because in the pitch contest, there's going to be 15 more people who compete for that one spot. Yeah, 15 people who compete for that pitch contest. One of them will get selected to speak at the main TEDx stage. So I knew that I was accepted for the pitch contest, and I knew that I was accepted for the main stage for the smaller TEDx platform. And the smaller stage organizers contacted me saying, will you please confirm? And I decided I'm going to take the big shot. I'm going to go for the big guns. I am going to go for that pitch contest. So I said no to this smaller platform, not knowing if I would win this pitch contest, because if I don't, then I have nothing. I don't have the smaller TEDx platform, which is a very prestigious one anyway, and I don't have the big one. But I knew that, and I don't mean it in an arrogant way, but I knew what I wanted to talk about, and I knew that it'll be very difficult. I will say this in a humble way. Someone will have to prepare a lot more than me and have to put in more than those 2 years of work than me to win that pitch contest, because everything that I believe in was in that 10-minute speech. So I didn't worry about saying no to the smaller platform. And I just knew that I didn't even care about winning or losing. I just knew I was going to be fine. And that's just what happened. I went in there, I had prepared that 5-minute pitch for over 50 drafts. And that was the culmination of my belief, my vision for God knows how many years. So I won that. And a lot of times people ask me, but how would you know that you were going to win it? I just knew. But not because I think I'm a winner or something, but I believed in my content that much. So I just believe in my content.
I love it. And you know what? Your first answer was spot on, like I just knew. This is where we are, right? I mean, when all the preparation has gone into it, and you know, I mean, you had 150 speeches under your belt, right? You had the experience. You had taken 2 full years to prepare yourself, to prepare your content. You did start listening to your inner voice, right? I mean, it would have been easy to just continue to go on on your leadership speaking, but that moment in January 2017, it was a turning point for you, and you didn't just ignore it. You went for it, and you took it seriously, and you took a step back to step up, right? So there's a lot of questions I always get again and again from people that are starting their speaking business that we work with as well and support them to make it happen. And, 2 questions would always, or 1 question would always be like, So now, how did you get started? How did you get the first 150 under your belt? And when was the first time you get paid for your speaking? And how did you make that switch from being not paid for speaking and practicing and learning, growing, to being a paid speaker? How did you make that step up? Maybe just take the concrete story of what was one of your first paid speeches and how did you get there?
Yeah. You know, this is something that I want to tell everyone who wants to be a professional speaker. It's very easy to be paid. Very easy to be paid. All you do is you give them your quote and say, it's a paid speech. They say no, they say no. They will say yes. But for me, the biggest struggle was knowing my self-worth. I'm not even going to tell you how much I charged for my first speech because it was nothing. Because that's what I thought my worth was. And to this day, I'm discovering my self-worth. So to all of you watching who think that, oh my God, I don't know how to transition from a unpaid speaking to paid speaking, don't worry. Just find your quote and give them your quote and have the guts to say, I'm sorry, this is not going to work. Now, a few tips that I can give you. If it's a social platform, it's a community like a professional women's community or maybe some kind of a leadership development community that you have, you know, social communities, often they don't have enough budget for a general meeting. So know that those might not have enough budget. But if you're being approached by a company, oh, hell yes, you must give them your quote. If you don't give a company your quote, that just means you don't think you're worth anything. Why on earth wouldn't you give a company your quote? They're paying their employees. Why wouldn't they pay you? Do they tell their employees who are working 9 to 5, hey, can you work today without pay because we don't have the budget for it? No. So how are you any different? You are contributing to the success of that company. Your workshop, your talk is going to improve their employee performance or their organizational performance, whether through branding, communication, marketing, business team, finance, whatever your expertise is. So being a paid speaker is easy. You create your quote and you send it to them. That's it. Really, that's it.
I love it. And it is as easy as you're describing it. You know, it's just, as you say, what you've been struggling with is what pretty much every person that starts a professional speaking career is struggling with, is finding their worth and stepping up to it and saying, this is what I'm charging. And I'm, it's either a yes or a no, but there's nothing in between, right? So,
it's okay to adjust. Sorry to interrupt you. Sometimes it's okay to adjust your quote based on what is the reason why they're asking you to adjust their quote. If there's truly an issue with their budget, like let's say their CEO has ordered these cuts on all the developmental teams, you know, let's say they've said that all the leadership development, women's network, and all other young professionals, whatever your subdivisions are in the company, if they all have had a budget cut, then okay, I understand. And if, you know, when you talk to people, you know who's being honest and who's just looking for a bargain deal. Remember that you're not some shampoo sitting on a, I don't want to be too intense, but really, you're not some shampoo bottle sitting on a grocery store with 1 + 1 free. You can't see yourself that way. But if there truly is an issue with budget and you know these people are going to be long-term clients, people who will respect you, who will be your profit, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. And also, of course, you know, I didn't want to sound so black and white. You're right to step in there. But, you know, again, there's always things that I mean, even professional speakers like you and I, there's still always some speeches to causes that we want to support because they're close to our heart. So there's a few every year we still keep doing for free, and that's perfectly fine, right? And there's always other things, other things of value that can come out of this. So yes, of course, there's always room for negotiation, but once you know your value, you need to step up with it, right? So you also wanted to tell us a little more about how do you really, because there's a gazillion speakers out there, often enough on our topic too, right? I mean, there's a gazillion speakers on leadership. There's probably quite a few that speak about transformation and sharing their stories and so on. So what can you do to really stand out in the sea of speakers? Because I know you have a couple of powerful suggestions here.
Okay. First of all, I want to make a statutory warning, like a disclaimer, that this is only my own experiences, you know, and things that I've learned, observed along the way that I've experienced. And it could be totally different from what you believe in or what you have noticed. And I would in fact love to get your perspective as well. There's 5 points that I want to share with you today. And these 5 things are observations, especially from 2017. You know, 2015 was my year of content creation. 2016 was my year of falls and fails and thousand challenges. 2017 was my year of transformation, and 2018, now I see, is my year of truly creating a successful business, speaking business. So it has taken me 4 years to get here. 2017, what did I observe in my journey? Number 1, if you want to be a professional speaker, actually forget professional speaker. If you want to be a thought leader on your subject, whatever it is, public speaking, training, finance, accounting, you must have the ability to fascinate people with your ideas. Now, whether they are learned through university degrees, whether they are read, sparked from discussions, whether they are coming from your own mind, talent, regardless, you must be an absolute expert, and your ideas must be so fascinating that regardless whether people know you, they want to share your knowledge with the world. Yeah. So what are the kinds of ideas that you're putting out there in the world? Are you seen as a thought leader by people? I was surprised, honestly, I was surprised when, without even knowing it, people were sharing my talks and my work and my articles saying, oh, she's a thought leader on transformation. One person called me a transformation expert. These are not phrases that I have created for myself. I would feel rather shy almost to call myself a transformation expert or a transformation thought leader. But people saw this in me because they were so connected with the ideas that I was propagating. So number 1, you must be an expert, fascination for your viewers, and they must see you as a thought leader. What is the content that you're going to create? The second point that I want to tell you is capitalize on your greatest strength. I'll give you an example. I know the speaker who's a sort of a management trainer in Netherlands. He's great at what he does. And he's in a sea of people who are management trainers, but that man has the most mesmerizing voice I have ever heard. Barry White would tip his hat. It's that mesmerizing. And I believe that man's voice is made for podcasts. It's made for audiobooks. Don't just write your book, make an audiobook of it. Because I know I have a very short attention span, but with that voice, I would listen to it from end to end. Fascinating voice. And I've implored him, please capitalize on your strength, your voice, because no other speaker, I've heard thousands of male speakers, nobody has that voice. It's enchanting. So I think he should capitalize that. For me, I kept getting feedback that my presence on stage was amazing. I was told that I was radiant. And I'm not trying to compliment myself, I'm just sharing observations with you. So I sat down and I literally wrote down on a piece of paper, why do people think I'm radiant on stage? Why do people say my stage presence is so strong? And then I started creating my own content. Okay, this is what I can teach people. So you must capitalize on your greatest strengths. Now, not everybody is made for the standard stuff. Now, it could be that you're an amazing host. Okay, you are perfect in getting the audience energized and putting the spotlight on others, but maybe you're not such a good keynote speaker. Then don't focus on keynote speeches as your main primary focus, because people will then not connect with you as much because there might be other better speakers out there. If you're great in one-to-one coaching, capitalize on that. Don't focus on, oh, but that person's making more money through workshops and speaking. Oh, I should do that. Don't follow other success stories. You must capitalize on what works best for you. I can tell you from my experience that keynotes are perfect for me because I love big audiences. If you give me 10,000 people, even better than 1,000 people. So crowds are great for me. One-to-one, the energy, I actually feel more exhausted with one-to-one talks and coaching than speaking to an audience, to a big audience. So I'm capitalizing on what works well for my strengths. So number 2, capitalize. Number 3, what is your latest brand value? Now, I've seen a lot of people who are very popular because they did something, or who are capitalizing on what they did 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 3 years ago. Now, those wonderful things you have achieved are so worthy of all the adulation you receive. You know, I got quite a few Toastmasters district awards and division awards in 2013 and 2014, but you cannot bank on them to sail you forward. There is way too much competition in the world. There are way too many people doing the same thing as you. So try to find a way to keep on elevating your value. Yeah. So let's say 2017, what was the best thing that happened to me in 2017 in terms of speaking career-wise? That was the TEDx speech. Okay, so people have seen this TEDx speech that has been watched thousands and thousands by thousands of people. They all loved it. 2018, where am I going to go beyond my TEDx speech? 2019, how am I going to top myself from an amazing moment in 2018? So you must always keep on elevating your brand value. Don't keep it static. Don't associate yourself with only one amazing achievement, because then you will get lost in the noise. And I also think that by keeping on challenging yourself to elevate your brand value, you elevate, well, you keep on growing your career. So it's a very good thing to do. Number 4, I would say, is having your prophets, your ambassadors, which means I am, you know, of course, I'm a self-made business owner or a speaker, but I think that's very, that's not a, honestly, that's not a truthful statement, because I am here because there are people who believed in me and they spread the word for me. All these interviews that are coming to me, I did not approach them. They come to me, you know, they believe in me and they propagate my message across the world. So you must have people who believe in you. You must have people who will do the spreading of your message and your word for you. Now, this is not something that you can just ask people to do. This is not something that you can pay people to do. This will happen only when, point number 1, you truly align yourself with your message, you can become an expert, and that people see you as thought leaders. When you achieve number 1, then number 4, having your own ambassadors, your own prophets, will happen. 2017 was my year of transformation, because in 2017, I had this insane number of people across the world who were sharing my TEDx talk, who were connecting me to people who I didn't know, who watched my speech, and connected me to people who I didn't know, who loved my speech. I didn't have to pursue them because they connected with my vision. Again, I'm not trying to boast about, oh, all the great people who've reached out, but I'm trying to tell you that you will know you're on the right path when you have these ambassadors. But to have these people who will spread your message, who believe what you believe, you need to do the first 3 steps. Become an expert, capitalize on your strengths, and find out your brand value and keep elevating it. And number 5, I would say the most important one, accept failure. You must have the guts to fall and fail on your face. You must be ready to open your email every morning and see a chain of rejections. And the funniest thing that happened, that I knew that I had grown as a person and as a business owner, was in 2016, when I would get an email rejection, I remember I cried once. I had tears falling down. It's embarrassing. But I had tears in my eyes when I got 3 rejections in one day. In the last week of Jan, or was it Feb? One of these months, when I got 2 email rejections in my, I got 2 rejections in my email account. The first thing that came to my mind was, oh, how nice of them to respond to me so quickly. And they're so polite, and they're saying they want to keep in touch with me for 6 months. 6 months later, they want to discuss it. And I thought, oh my God, 2 years ago, I was crying about this, but now I'm happy that they responded to me. Of course, there are also people who will just ignore you and never respond, but you must be able to handle it. If you can't, this is not the job for you. This career is filled with falls, fails, tough periods, but your vision, you have a long-term vision. As long as you believe in that, you're going to be fine. So, in a brief summary, because we're Toastmasters, you must be an expert on your subject. You must capitalize on your greatest strengths. You must keep elevating your brand value, have your ambassadors and prophets who spread your word and believe in you. And number 5, accept failure. That's it.
Love it. And that's already another TEDx speech in itself, right?
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
Definitely. Great. Oh my God. There's so many questions I'd love to ask you at this point, but you spoke about, your brand value, and you spoke about how important it is to keep elevating your brand. A lot of people that are part of our community are already far ahead, and some of them are, still pretty much at the beginning, starting to launch their speaking career. So, how did you build your brand when you went through all these different phases of evolvement? How did you know you started to have a strong brand? Because branding is pretty much everything about how you're perceived, what kind of responses you get from the outside, what people see in you. I mean, branding is a very complex matter, right? So how did you take, conscious and targeted action to build your brand and to make it what you wanted it to be?
Yeah. This has grown over time. So it's not like the branding was big right in the beginning. It really happened. It really happened in 2017. But number one, I was very clear with what kind of companies I'm going to work with. Also, what kind of companies that I'm working with that I want the world to know. So you must be very clear on who your audience is. Make no bones about it, because when people say, who's your market? And I say, oh, the whole world, anyone. Yeah, that's not going to work. You must be very clear. This is the ultimate dream clientele that I'm speaking for. And when I do that, I dress that way. I make sure my every message, every vision is reaching them or would reach them someday. So if you're someone who's talking to young entrepreneurs or startups, if that's your business, then you must align your talk and your message with that audience. If you're about corporates, do that. If you're specifically talking to women, do that. If you're not, make it clear. As a female speaker, I don't know how many women we have a few. What I noticed in the beginning was people were trying to, and in good, and of course with a good heart, meaning in their heart, that people were seeing me as a female speaker. What I mean by that is speaking at women's only events. And I think it's wonderful to speak at women's only events, or those professional career networks for women. But I think men are also my audience. And if there are men and women who inspire me, I believe I can also connect and be impactful for both genders. So it was very clear right from the start that I don't want to be categorized as a women's only speaker, like a women's speaking coach or a women's leadership coach. So I want to impact both men and women. So I made sure that nowhere in my website did it ever mention, or in my briefs, sometimes organizations ask for your portfolio and your briefs. Nowhere will it mention anything about me being a female specific speaker. I'm just a speaker on transformation. That's what I do. Whoever you are, I will speak to you about it if you want to know. The second thing that I was very clear on is I am not a geographic, so I will try to find a better way to say it. Some people speak mostly for ethnic minorities or for certain causes, So speaking to the representing the African community, or representing the Indian community, or representing, I don't know, British community. And I was very clear that I don't want to be restrictive in the people I speak with. So it was not that I'm going to speak for women's events only, or I'm going to only be training women, or speaking at their conferences, or only race or nationality based events. So I was specific about my topic. My topic is transformation. If it fits your event, we will work together. So that was number one. Number two was, what are the platforms that will give me the kind of exposure I need? And a lot of them fell into my lap, I think, and that happened after I became, point number one, expert, and point number two, capitalize. So what happened is, last year I was approached to speak at this conference in Oslo, which was where the speakers were going to be these top speakers from Europe, and Prime Minister of Norway, Erna Solberg. And what I later found out is that I was headlining that event. I did not know that. But in their press release, there's Erna Solberg, there's a CEO lady, and then there's my face. And I think my brand value elevated just by being on the same headline with these incredibly successful and influential people. So while this came to me, you can also pursue it. You have to look for events. You have to look for places where these are the people I want to associate with. These are the people. This is like, if a person thinks of this person, they should also think of me, you know, or I want to be in these platforms where I'm speaking with this particular array of experts and thought leaders. So choose those events and approach them if they're not coming to you. Choose wisely, because you should not, I would say, you shouldn't choose an event where your topic is overlapping. So if there's someone who's also talking about transformation, I would not speak at that event, because then you're just fighting for space and attention. Be at an event where you can shine on your topic and the other topics and the other speakers complement you and you complement them. And also go for the biggest. There is no shame in, again, don't have the fear of failure. If you believe that you should be in a massive conference in America, let's say, I don't know, top business success or top leadership event where they're headlining with Richard Branson, and you truly believe that your idea is worth that stage, apply for it, go for it, and tell them why.
That's great. I mean, there's so many, you know, so many nuggets of gold that you're sharing with all of us. So maybe tell us, Sangbreeta, what's next for you? Because you say it's so important to keep elevating our speaking career and what we do and the value we share and everything. So what's next on your agenda? And here's also an invite to everyone. If you have any questions for Sangbreeta, just post them in here in our chat, and then yeah, you know, and you start getting some great comments here saying, thanks for sharing your experience. You spotlighted all the relevant aspects. You truly are a transformator. So that's wonderful. And there's someone that is also connecting you within a business already to potentially speak. So you see, being on, you know, on our call and these calls as a speaker, you know, that's what helps everyone. But let me ask you the question again. So what is next on your agenda? What are you working on to elevate your value, your brand, your speaking further?
Oh, the most exciting thing I've ever done. For me, it's insane because I never thought it would happen, but I'm writing my first book. It's called Transform Your Presence. It's based on, you know, the snippet was the TEDx talk, Transform Your Presence. And this book is an amalgamation of all the thoughts that I've had, the things that truly fascinate me, stories of real people I've met. I don't want to talk about the famous people. I want to talk about real people and the impact they've made. And I have 4 stories already from Kerala of these people in tiny towns that, oh, they touched my heart. And I think they are creating a legacy. And it's those stories that I'm going to share, insights, things I've learned from my mentors. So I'm writing my book. Wish me great luck and tons of inspiration, because I'm afraid of the writer's block coming onto me at some point. So I think that's my big one. One thing that I was very surprised in, that again is the point number 4, which was having your ambassadors. I am being approached by American bureaus and conference platforms, which I didn't even think of approaching myself, because I thought they have a wealth of speakers. Why on earth would they need me? But apparently there's a market for it. So I was approached by a very influential and prestigious conference platform, which I can't talk more about, but fingers crossed, everything will work out. So I think this year, elevating my presence and working on new challenges is expanding my reach across the different continents, being strict and disciplined in my book, and keeping on doing my 5-step process. How can I become a better expert? How can I find better things in me to capitalize on? How will I have more ambassadors who believe in me? What will be my brand value? And will I always be ever accepting of failure?
I love it. And, you know, Alex is saying, Sangbreeta, your star as usual, which you are. What's the biggest piece of advice or wisdom you would give to win a corporate client? That's a great question.
Now, before I answer that, my question to you, or you know, whoever is thinking about the subject is, how much do you want that corporate client, and are you willing to work with them even though they're not in the same frequency as you? Having said that, now I'll tell you my answer. I believe in any corporate meeting, any meeting, forget corporate, any conference, anyone who approaches you for work, you must feel that person. Sorry, one sec. You must feel that person. Sorry, I have very little battery left, so I'm going to finish this as soon as possible. You have to be able to talk to them knowing that this is the underlying value. I'll give you a quick example. I was speaking at a conference in Rotterdam this year, and someone from the crowd saw me. She approached me later on and said, okay, I loved what you did up there. I'm a marketing director. She's a marketing director of a massive translations company, and she said, look, our board is wonderful. They started this company 30 years ago, but they're the older Dutch generation, and times have changed. The way companies are connecting with their customers have changed, and I need to make this shift in their minds, but they're pretty resistant. Can you help? So I said, okay. And they had these booths, you know, all these companies had their booths. So she said, will you come up to my booth in some time? I said, okay. So about in 2 hours, I went to her booth and she introduced me to their founder and managing director, who's this about 60 years old, white hair, very distinguished looking Dutch gentleman, very tall. And within the first minute that we spoke, I could sense that he is a man of let my work do the talking, okay? He's humble, he's quiet, he does not like flash display, the razzle dazzle, not that man. So immediately, when I sensed that, I started talking to him about values. I started talking to him about, you know, why it's important for people to know what we believe in, authenticity. So you need to read people. Within 3 hours of that, the marketing director emailed me saying, this guy loved you, our managing director. He wants to talk more to you. And now we have our first appointment for my first workshop with that company. All this took was a 10-minute discussion. You must feel people. I also had a recent call with a company which is one of the biggest banks in the world. But when I was speaking with them, I realized that these people are micromanagers. They are so driven by the fear of perfection that they want to control every aspect of everything. They want to literally co-design the workshop with you. They're looking for a linear, stepwise process of a workshop that makes sense to them. But I am a very creative person. My brain is like the movie Inception. Ideas come through different phrases and sparks come from everywhere. I cannot fit in with their vision, even though, God, I know they would pay me enough to make a whole new kitchen. So I decided, of course, I was polite and we carried on the discussion, but I know that I will not work with them. And that's because our values do not align. And I know that if creativity is very abstract, and if you try to control it, it's not going to work. So I know that if they are micromanaging me and co-designing a workshop with me and being very forceful, it won't work for me. So in my heart, even though that's a great corporate client, I've decided not to go for it. So again, I took a very long route to answer your very simple question. But number one, you must feel the person, sense the person, and speak on a level that they understand. Number two, you have to make the decision whether you align with that corporate client's values and if you're willing to go for it, even if that means compromising your own values. That was my answer. Monique?
All right, I realized I was muting myself. So, Sangbreeta, do you still have 2 or 3 minutes? Is your computer still allowing you the battery?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Here's another question, which I think was already partially answered by Alex. And Kai is saying also, yeah, great, we can help you, that your book becomes #1 bestseller. Kai is always, there to help, and so is our community. And then Alex is asking, so with events trainings, were you actively seeking out prospect clients, or did they approach you at the beginning? I think you partially answered it, but do you still want to add something to answer that question fully?
This is a good one. if you want to get in to an event, it's, well, this is just my experience again, but so many things didn't work out because the people that I was approaching weren't, either they were not influential, or they were just not persistent enough. You know, people who vouch for you, who get you introduced. I am not someone who sends cold emails. So there are a lot of people, a lot of speakers and trainers I know who send, you know, emails to HR and everything, and that works for them. It doesn't work for me. What I prefer is if someone who's seen my work and they recommend me, and of course that's a slower way to work. But there are a few companies that I'd love to work with and who don't know me yet. So I would say select a person to introduce you who's influential enough. And if that person is not influential enough, try to find someone else, or just wait till you become someone strong enough in your presence and in your business that it would be easier for them to connect you to someone. When you're approaching a company, you must get through by the words of someone internal who truly believes in you. I've had people, two big companies in Netherlands. These are one of the Fortune 500 companies whose base is in Netherlands. That's all I can tell you. So the headquarters is based in Netherlands, two of them. And I was in talks with one of the people from their company, and it took them 6 months to get me introduced to the right person. But here's the crazy thing. Even I forgot, you know, I was like, yeah, well, other work. But they didn't forget. They kept finding the right person to introduce me to and sending me an email saying, hey, Sangbreeta, to let you know, today I spoke to that person. To let you know, hey, quick update, I spoke to that person. I don't think it's going to work out. I'm going to try someone else. So that's point number 4, your brand ambassadors. Who is your ambassador and how much are they fighting for you to work out in their company? If you have that, you're good to go. If you're going to approach a company, I would recommend don't send cold emails. Find someone who will fight for you to be in there, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah, it's absolutely spot on. I mean, it's always a question like, who are the right people that get me in touch with the right people? And networking is everything, right? I mean, I you know, just 2 weeks ago, I spoke at the United Nations, which I never thought I would have the honor to. Okay, that was amazing. And again, it was networking, knowing the right people that invited me to go along and, you know, give that beautiful speech. And
you know, before I forget, this is really something I want to tell people, if you don't mind.
please.
Networking, you know, the word networking puts people off because networking sounds transactional, and I know why. Because in so many networking events, people go and their main aim is, I'm going to finish distributing my business cards. So don't think of this as networking, even though we're using the word, and Monique, I know exactly what you mean. So it's not to negate what you said, but think of it as people believing in what you want, or what you believe. That's all that matters. People being deeply inspired and impacted by your vision. So getting in somewhere or knowing people is not about a transactional relationship. It's about they truly believe in you. Even if they don't know you, they will believe in you. You've got to get there. But once you get there, trust me, you're going to be fine.
I love it. And I love how you're, you know, highlighting the point of networking, you know, having a negative connotation these days. For me, networking is just nothing else but building connections, building relationships, you know, mind to mind and heart to heart. And the heart to heart is the most important thing. Because if people resonate with your message, with your purpose, with your mission, you know, with your brand, that's what's going to open your doors. Yeah. And great. So there's another one, you know, we have Doug here, and he's, you know, I mean, he's doing very, very powerful work also as a speaker, and he's a Toastmaster also in the US. And he's saying, as a 2-time survivor, my platform is suicide awareness, which is a really, really, you know, tough, serious topic. How do I reach audiences best? So, I mean, you know, you said, you know, already a lot about how you got the word out and, you know, how you get to the point where they start to reach out to you. But if you're still really starting out, you know, what questions do you ask to decide what are the right audiences and how to reach them best?
Okay, so I'm going to put myself in, hi Doug, I'm going to put myself in your shoes.
Well, now it looks like we did lose her. Okay. So while we see if she has a chance to come back for the next 2 minutes or so, you know, why don't we open the space in the floor here? What are some of the things that you are all working on with your speaking career? What's the next step that you want to take now? I mean, you know, me too, and I know you're a learning sponge, but you're also very active on stage. And we have quite a lot of people here that I know are already speaking out there. Also, Elena, I know you're building your business and you've been giving a lot of workshops in the past. So what are the, you know, what are the things that you're working on right now to make your speaking business flourish further? Maybe just unmute yourself. Mitun, what is it on your side right now?
Yeah, from my side, a lot is going on. Actually, I have quite a few new invitations, new places. So again, as what you said, one speech gets you speaking to another group. So it's just word of mouth that's getting me to new audiences, and I'm very blessed and happy to have these audiences who want me. One of the largest challenges that I'm facing is balancing out everything and all the invitations and the work. So of course I know that at some point of time I have to make that decision that shall I do it on a full-time basis or not. So I think I'm working towards that. So it will take some time. I have what I do is I really believe in the principle that how do you eat an elephant, so one piece at a time. So I just broke down the milestones into smaller milestones, which I have for every 2 to 3 months. So I try to just do those smaller milestones. And I know I have a lot of other things going on in parallel, so I don't want to push myself. I do it like safely but surely. But I'm active. I keep speaking, and I also get a lot of stage time from business schools. So it was also like word of mouth. I never wanted to be in academics, and I never wanted to speak to them. But one of the chambers, Indo-French chambers of commerce, they recommended me to train a group of students in Lyon, and that's how it started. So now I have like I'm a guest speaker in Berlin at the Freie Universität, and 3 other business schools. And I think that's a very different kind of audience. And I try to see what kind of topics, what are their learning styles, and how can you adapt to a student-only group or an experienced group. So I'm trying out a lot of new techniques, and yeah, I'm also fine-tuning my material, which needs time, and I'm also writing my first book, so lot is going on.
A lot of projects in parallel. Well,
exactly.
It all comes back to what you know, to what Sangbreeta said. It all starts with clarity on who do you want to be for whom, what's your target audience, and you know, what do they need to know to really step up in their life or in their work, right? And then really making a choice to say, I want to serve and support these type of audiences, and the best way of doing that is this, right?
Exactly.
So,
it's a very step-by-step process. It's exactly like a diamond. I mean, you know, the amount of time it needs to be cut and polished. You just have to keep polishing your material.
Exactly. Great. So thanks for sharing with where you are. And again, Mitun, tap into our community, get support, get advice, get feedback, you know, on your projects and helping you to make the right choices.
Sure, I'll be doing that. Don't worry about that.
Great. So it looks like Sangbreeta had to sneak out. You know, I don't know where her electricity cable is, but anyhow, I think the hour was up anyhow. So it's really great to have all of you on, and you know, and I know Sangbreeta will somehow later hear it. Let us all thank her for being here with us, sharing her journey, sharing her advice and suggestions. I feel that again, I remember that back in, it's not so long ago, 2014, when we spoke about her launching her professional speaking career. she was at the very beginning. And, you know, all of us, when we start out, you know, there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of, uncertainty, there's a lot of fear. But no matter where you are with your speaking, and I know quite a few are already regular on stage, are already paid as speakers, and for you now it's time to either get paid more or start going international, or, you know, just, taking on board another great speaking project. No matter what it is, you know, just, do what Sangbreeta said, right? I mean, just keep asking yourself, what is the next stretch for me, for my brand, for the impact I'm making, for the difference I want to make, to really, you know, live my mission and share my message as a speaker. So it's really great that all of you were here with us today and, you know, listened to Sangbreeta and engaged with her and asked your questions. And keep in mind, we have every month, we have these calls that we're putting up for you to invite an expert guest to learn from, to get inspired by, to get that extra spark, to get that extra advice or idea that you need to step up with your speaking businesses. And next month, we're going to have another guest already lined up, and I look forward to have her on board. And I look forward to have all of you back. And again, in the meantime, don't forget, we have the community. Tap into it. Ask your questions. Connect with other professional speakers. You know, learn from each other. Get advice, get motivation, whatever you need to advance your speaking business further. Okay? Great. Thank you so much for being on with us today. And I wish you a fabulous next month. I know that it's already, you know, it feels already pretty much like spring here in Europe. So I think you all have a fabulous time ahead. So you, keep doing your magic, keep spreading your message. And again, when it comes to finding the ambassadors to connect with and to share with you and open doors for you, again, here's a great community of, I think we are more than 700 you know, members already now. There is a wealth of wisdom, knowledge, advice. So tap into it, exchange, learn, and grow. And I see that we do have Sangbreeta back. So maybe we can invite you, Sangbreeta, for a last inspiring message before we are closing this off. We were about to close this off, but we see that we are having you back. So maybe you want to give some last wise words of wisdom at the end that summarizes your many golden nuggets.
Back here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. So we were
sorry,
already,
I don't know how
about to close it off, and I just saw that you were back. So maybe you want to say some last wise words of wisdom and encouragement to everyone to step up with their speaking career further.
All the best. Embrace failure, cover the 5-step process, and I think you're going to be fine. I truly believe that there is no competition when you are aligned with your calling. And it's such a cliche thing to say that I am not competing with anyone, especially when I am a competitive speaker. But I truly believe you are not in competition with anyone, because there can be 1,000 people who do what you do, but no one who thinks what you think, who says what you say. Don't try to copy other success stories. Be aligned with truly what fascinates you, because you know, when you're fascinated by something and it keeps you awake at night and you start writing on it and thinking on it and creating content on it, people will connect with you. People will believe in you, because don't use money as the vision. I know people who say, well, I'm speaking because it brings lots of money. Trust me, that's going to be a short-lived career. Money will come, success will come. Be aligned with your calling. And to that gentleman, Doug, I'm so sorry I got cut off when we were speaking. Please email me, reach out to me, contact Monique for my information. I'd love to give you some tips that I was thinking of, handy, relevant tips for you in your own city. Trust me, it's easier than you think it is. Starting off is not difficult. I'll send you some tips, or if you want to have a quick Skype call, we can do that. But other than that, believe in yourself, and trust me, when you believe in yourself, you have the guts to do the craziest things in the world. You have the guts to say no to to things that the world would think that you're crazy, but it's fine. You're going to be fine. You are going to be awesome, not just fine. That's it. Thank you.
As your story, as your journey shows. So Sangbreeta, thank you so much for being on with us today. I know this is only the beginning for you. We're going to see you on big stages going forward, and you're going to really, you are a token of light to many that really want to go on this journey of transformation. So thank you for being you. Thank you for having the guts, the courage, the wisdom, and sharing it with all of us. You know, so thank you everyone that's been on this call. I look forward to have you back next month. And again, you know, as I said, we have this beautiful community. So please, in the next couple of days, Sangbreeta, keep an eye out if there's any other questions coming. If you'd appreciate, you can answer it there. So an invite to all of you, just tap into it. There is a wealth of wisdom, of knowledge, of experience. So tap into it and let's connect with each other there. Okay? Great, Sangbreeta, you enjoy your time in India, Kerala, okay? You know, the place of God, created by God, absolutely gorgeous, okay? So you enjoy your well-deserved holidays again. Thank you for taking some time out being with us today. And yeah, let's see. Really curious to see where you're stepping up next, and look forward to see you also back in Europe. Okay? All the best, everyone, and see you again next month. And in the community, in the meantime, keep doing your magic as speakers, keep spreading your message.